Hey, how's it going, guys? Samuel here, back for another video. Today I'm going to be doing a build update on Badang. It's actually been quite a while since I've made the last build video on Badang, about 7 months or so. A lot has changed since then, although I only made these significant changes recently along with the help of my friend 0ML. That being said, all three builds have changed, so let's get into it. Alright, so what really sparked the huge change was me and Zero discovering an old buff for Badang that he had received that we just kind of glossed over. This buff was received in October of 2019, and here we are, just addressing it. Anyhow, when Badang was first released, his ultimate used to give you a flat shield based on the ult level, and then his extra shield based on your attack. That percentage was 80%, a pretty good amount, but nothing game breaking. There was an extra thing, however. Badang's ultimate didn't work with Golden Staff for a while, so during that era, we ran this damage build that featured Hunter Strike because it was a cheaper Bladed Despair, and usually better, and no jungle items were included in the damage build because they weren't buffed to be crazy good back then. This build on Badang is still plenty viable, but is not even close to being optimal anymore, however. Once Badang got Golden Staff to work during Ultimate, the gimmicky Fleeting Time Badang set was created, a build that was made to help Badang sustain through his engages by making him a little tankier and only relying on 3 damage items. The problem with Demon Hunter Sword plus Golden Staff, however, is that once the target's HP gets low, Badang's DPS drops significantly on the target due to how DHS plus Golden Staff works. Because of that, Badang needed a finisher ally, which is what this build took advantage of. Ideally, with a Karina ally, Badang would engage, do most of the work, and then get them low, and then have Karina finish up, procting Fleeting Time and resetting his ult. The rest of the build was also carefully selected for that gimmicky goal. Oracle helps Badang get more shield during ult, which helps him survive during engages, but the real magic starts with Immortality. Picture this: you engage, a great job, and get them all low before you get bursted down in return. Your teammates then follow up and engage, cleaning them up aside from having like one tank or something left remaining. Fleeting Time kicks in and you only have 7 seconds or so on ult before you can use it again. Immortality plus Oracle keeps you alive, and bam, double ult in one team fight. Unfortunately, whilst the idea is nice, the actual practicality of this build isn't the highest. It's viable for sure, but the build order wasn't optimal, so there will be a more optimized version of this build later on in the video. Alright, so those were the two main builds for Badang for a long time. The emblem I used to go with both of them was the Assassin Emblem Bounty Hunter, as it allowed Badang to come back from snowballs easier, as well as establish Snowball himself easier. Simply a great emblem, or so I thought. Flash forward to about a month ago or so now, Zero told me about a Badang buff we had both overlooked. Badang's shield gain from Ultimate that was based on 80% of his physical attack became 150%. With this new information in mind, Zero decided it was time to try out some new builds and have me maybe update my sets, so that's exactly what I did. And here are my conclusions. Alright, so there are basically 3 new sets for Badang. All 3 of these sets are viable, though there is one I prefer over them all, and 3 new emblems with a clear definitive emblem over them all as well. As a side note, the build order has also been changed for all 3 builds as well. I now rush DHS on Badang before boots. Anyhow, let's get started. Okay, so the first set for Badang is the updated damage build. This build serves the same purpose as the original damage build, but updated with the more powerful Raptor Machete put in, as well as having the nerfed Endless Battle taken out. It's all in damage, providing plenty of finishing power that is great for follow-ups, but also superb for engages. This build does not allow much room for error, however, because if you miss a critical wall in your engage or ult, you will die. That being said, a proper engage will end all of the squishies, even if they got a flicker or whatnot. The burst is simply way too high for them, with the Demon Hunter Sword and Golden Staff to slice them down for max HP and the raw damage that finishes them off thanks to Blade of Despair's passive. The only way for squishies to survive a proper engage from you with this build is if they build defensive items like Immortality, in which case Immortality will most likely be popped if they stand in your ult for the full duration, or they might get away with very low HP. The build order for this build is starting things off with a Jungle Knife, then rushing Demon Hunter Sword right after. You can build boots afterwards, after Demon Hunter Sword, according to the situation. Typically it's tough boots, but it could also be warrior boots or whatnot. And then after that, you can either build tier 2 jungle Nimble Blade if you have more than 7 jungle stacks, or you can build Golden Staff and then continue onwards with the build. I don't jungle that much with Badang, so as a top laner, I don't jungle that much. If I'm in bot lane, I will most definitely get Noble Blade after Demon Hunter Sword. But since I'm on top lane, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the enemy in the game. So yeah, just letting you guys know that. That's personally what I do. Your engages with this build will be a combination of follow-ups or engages, but the key to success is staying hidden in bushes or coming behind and such. Flicker engages will also be key. Basically, the element of surprise will be the way to victory with this build. The second set for Badang is the old Infinity Fleeting Time set, but with the build order revamped a little bit. Another key change is the fact that Demon Hunter Sword is once again being rushed. Assuming you're going top lane, you're going to have to clear wave first and then get Vampire Mallet. Then finish off Demon Hunter Sword and then get Boots and then the rest of the build. This Badang build has a little bit more bulk but requires more of a team. You cannot engage alone expecting everyone to die, as it does not have the finishing power due to the items Demon Hunter Sword and Golden Staff having the power to get low but not finish. That being said, if it's just you against a team of 5 on your inhibitor, flicker, engage, and do as much as you can. Take opportunities. It's better than letting them go. If it works, superb. If it doesn't, but it was still a proper engage, it should have caused the enemy to back off, because Badang's damage is not anything to sneeze at all. Overall, it's still an incredibly viable build to run. The third set for Badang is relatively similar to the second set, but instead of focusing on the fleeting time gimmick, it's all about survival. The core damage items are still there, so damage is no issue, but you gain so much more survivability from it. The main magic of this build doesn't come from the build itself, however, but rather from the emblem. The emblem to go with this set is the tank emblem Tenacity. Tenacity will single-handedly save you from many situations where you could have died. You will die 3 to 4 times less each game compared to if you had any other emblem. Guaranteed, as long as you're being aggressive with all that. If you're playing safe, it doesn't really matter that much. All that being said, it is a little bit harder to fully utilize. Personally for me, there isn't an actual concrete build order for this build. Obviously you rush DHS first, but aside from that, after that, it's kind of depending on the situation. Due to recent patches nerfing Mask, it's only worthwhile if you build tier 3 Mask, and Mask is only used on Badang to get caught up if you're really far behind, but even then it's kind of situational. If your team simply needs you to have more damage, you can only get Mask after Golden Staff. If not, you can get it before. If your team doesn't really need you to, be the engager and do all that much damage, but rather as a follow-up, chances are you can build Courage Mask first after DHS, and then you can get a good amount of gold from it, but otherwise you need to build Golden Staff first. However, in recent matches, mostly I don't build it at all. As long as I can keep my farm in 3rd place or 500 gold above 5th place, I don't need it. As for Beast Killer, it's also a little bit sketchy personally, as I find it hard to get jungle stacks. If you can get all the jungle stacks in, it's a pretty damn good item. But if not, I usually rush Queen's Wings before it, or if I just don't get Beast Killer at all and just get Immortality Queen's Wings instead, or Twilight Armor and Queen's Wings instead, that kind of thing. This set is my personal favorite, as it's a direct counterpart to the second set, but it works better in general due to it not needing specific finishers like Karina. Now, before the emblems, I do want to briefly mention the last and final set that I have been testing on Zero. This is the set that I'm going to be using sometime in the future. I'm not really sure. The concept of this set is that instead of using your skills for damage, you trap someone and punch them to death. If needed, using your ult for a finisher or ulting the incoming backup. It's a high commitment set that specializes in finishing carries. The damage it does will be significantly lower to tanks, but much higher to squishies due to the way Demon Hunter Sword plus Golden Staff works compared to Demon Hunter Sword plus crits. Demon Hunter Sword will lower them, and then the crits will finish them. That's how it works against the squishies. Alright, now let's wrap up the emblems. So, there are 4 emblems in total, and 2 that I would really recommend. First off, we have the support emblem. Now, this is the emblem I would recommend for beginners of Badang, as it allows for high mobility to escape in case of a bad engage or miscalculation. Beginners would use sprint with this emblem to practice their walls without feeding super hard, basically. The other use for it is to simply have a faster flicker. This can be handy for getting in more flicker engages. That's more or less about it. It's the highest mobility emblem out there, as well as the added benefit of more flickers. It's a solid option and one that I would recommend. The next emblem is the good old assassin emblem, Bounty Hunter, with no movement speed points compared to previously where there were movement speed points. The perks of it is that it's a great anti-snowball and snowball emblem, and you just get some more damage out of it with the removed movement points for damage points. So you get more damage from early to mid game before Demon Hunter Sword. It's best used for the pure damage set, and I really wouldn't recommend it for any other sets or recommend it at all, honestly, personally speaking. I have not missed it that much. It is pretty nice, but I have not missed it that much. But it's still definitely usable and definitely still viable. Tenacity is the next one, and a clear winner for me. I've grown to be quite fond of this emblem, for it has really allowed me to cut down on my deaths per game. It helps early game in laning and throughout the game with engages and follow-ups, allowing you to fight longer and potentially escape. It's a usable emblem for all 3 sets as well. Lastly, we have the Marksman emblem for the crit set. It's just to boost the damage of your attacks and give you some extra damage and sustain. Nothing too crazy. And that's it. These are my new builds and emblems for Badang going forward. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it and will try these out in your own games. I will be posting more gameplay in the upcoming weeks. For now, I leave you with the rest of this gameplay. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and until next time, peace.